back again. So what we're going to be doing today is going through all the stuff you need to know to be able to play a decent game. So far in this class, we've gotten piece movement in week 1. We learned how to checkmate in week 2. And now we're to the point in week 3 we need to learn how to start the game effectively. A little bit of the go-go juice. So now, the first thing that we need to talk about is the center. In every chess game that is played, you can look up countless games, you're going to affect these 4 center squares every single time with your development in the opening. So let me give you an example of what I typically see from you guys, like after we learn piece movement. You'd be like, meh, or even more popular, meh, to start with. Now, this does not affect the center, and this is typically a bad move. Now, from my psychology background, I know that people do this because when you're doing something new, you typically don't take huge risks. It's like, would you rather jump off the small cliff first into the water or the giant cliff into the water first? Most people go off the smaller cliff first to test it. Well, you should test the water to start with to make sure you're not breaking your legs and it's actually like deep, but whatever. So, they choose H4 to start with because most people are right-handed and they're making the move that is least invasive in the position. That's why people do that. But it goes against the principles of center. Now, let me show you the fastest ways to lose games in chess. So say somebody makes a move like this. This isn't entirely the worst move in chess because it's at least attacking one center square. But then say black just goes, yeah, okay, I'll do this. And then white makes a move that doesn't have any bearing on the center. Well, get wrecked, son. That's mating too. It's over. It's done. That's called the fool's mate. He just got his butt handed to him. Like, why even play chess? Got it? So, hopefully this is emphasizing some of the importance of what we're about to go over. The other really popular one is, what's significant about these two squares? F2 and F7, in any type of fight, you are going after weaknesses first, unless you have some deeper psychological reason for doing something else. Now, in the starting position in chess, these two spots are the weakest because only the king defends it. Every other pawn is defended by a piece that we could give up. Meaning, if you lose this spot early in the game, you're taking an L. So, here's a good example. So say black's doing the things like we talked about. White, he's in the center. Okay, cool. And black's like, doo-ba-doo. All right, well, I'll move my bishop out. Good square for a B because he's attacking through the middle and attacking this weakness. And black's like, I just learned, doo-doo-doo. And white goes, all right, I'm going to bring my queen out early, which we'll learn pretty soon that that is not a good move because if you bring out your more powerful pieces, they're going to get attacked. And when they get attacked, you don't want to give them up, so they're going to have to move. And we're going to waste time. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then black is continuing to derp, so doo-doo-doo, and get wrecked. That is checkmate because we try our 3 rules of check. Can he move away? No. Can he block with something? No, he's in your face. And then can he take? No, because the bishop is protecting the queen and you would still be moving into check. So that's why this is checkmate. All right, so far so good. Now, the easy response to, could we stop this? Yeah, just go there. Because now you block the bishop's attack on it. That's simple. So many ways, and eventually the queen will be attacked. So now that we've talked a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing, here are the 3 main things in the opening that you should do. We'll say pretty much every time you're playing to start with. The first is going to be maintain a pawn in the center. So let's start with this move, d4. Now, d5. We're both putting a pawn in the center. Good. Now here gets the extra fun part. I'm going to play c4. Now, it looks like the pawn is free. But remember what the first rule is. What's the first rule? And not just be in the middle, but maintain a pawn in the middle, right? So to maintain a pawn in the middle, if black takes this pawn, is he maintaining a pawn in the middle? So let's see an example of what happens if he gives up the middle and he's greedy. Well, I'm just going to play this move here, and now my bishop's attacking this pawn, and it's where he wants to go. So say black's still being greedy. He's like, yes. I'm going to hold on to my pawn. All right, well, I'm going to attack this pawn, making it move so I can take. Well, if he comes here, when I take, if he takes back, nom, nom, nom. Get wrecked. So the other way to do it is if he comes here. Well, I'll take, and it looks like everything's fine, but no. Get wrecked. You're going to lose a rook. Now, greed is bad. The reason I'm teaching you these principles to start out with, since we've just learned piece movement, is the stuff that I'm teaching you, you will never lose quickly against anyone if you're following these principles. Guaranteed. So, now, when I say maintain a pawn in the middle, could somebody give me a move for black that if I capture, I can capture back with a pawn? E6, great. And this move, d4, c4 against d5, that's called the Queen's Gambit. It's an opening. And the move that you played is called the Queen's Gambit decline, because I'm declining taking the pawn, accepting the gambit. Make sense so far? Now, the other way to do it would be c6, and this is called the Slav, S-L-A-V, opening, named after, say, Slavic people, the best chess players. Yeah. So we'll go back to e6. Now, this would be an example of good development. So we've gotten 1 out of 3 of our major opening principles done. We've maintained a pawn in the center. Next, we're going to focus on king safety, which is castling, and minor piece development, which is getting your knights and bishops to good squares. So I move this knight out, and guess what? Boom. Attacks the center, right? He moves his knight out, defending these squares. I move my bishop out, attacking your knight, trying to take pressure off. So he goes, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. So if you take, I can take back. Getting ready to get my bishop out. Well, he does the same. I move my knight out, attacking the center. He castles. Well, I get my b out of the way because I want to castle too. Now black has a problem. I said all minor pieces effective. This b is your bad b. He's not doing anything. So let's fix him. So I'm just going to move this pawn up to be able to put him there, which will attack the center. After I castle, I move the bishop, and now we have a complete 100% opening on both sides of the board because we got the pawn in the middle. It's maintained. We got our knights and bishops attacking towards the middle or attacking one of our opponent's pieces that's attacking the middle. And then we got our king safe. So important to get our king safe quick from the first examples we saw with those fast checkmates. There are numerous ways to develop quickly. This one is called the Queen's Gambit. So for your test that you're going to have on, normally Friday, it's going to be Thursday this week, you're going to have to play a position to the point where you can get here, to where you can maintain a pawn in the middle, castle, and develop your knights and bishops effectively. So here's another example. So if I move my knight out to start with, and he goes here. This is a fianchetto. And now, pawn here. And you're like, but I don't have a pawn in the middle. Now you do. It just delayed. And now, eventually we'll figure out how to get that bishop out. And that bishop we already know. Pawn there, bishop there, and done. So everybody clear so far that opening principles are very important for playing a high-quality chess game. Now, the reason that we're starting with the queen pawn or the knight is there are so many variations with e4, which is traditionally considered the move that everybody learns first. I don't teach that first because you can lose games very, very quickly if you play e4. That's why I recommend everybody starting with d4 because I don't like to teach you guys something new and then it's like going to a cooking class and being like, all right, So you first put the olive oil in the pan. Oh, I forgot to mention, don't put your hand in the olive oil when it's boiling. Yeah, you don't want to put your hand in the burning oil. That's what I'm talking about. So I don't want to give you a situation where you're going to get absolutely killed starting off playing, because it takes the fun out of the game. So now at this point, we have at least a basis on what we're going to be doing and why. So let me give you this line, and I'm going to put the score sheet up on the board. So here's the activity that you guys are going to be working with, and there will be prizes. So this is how it works. You will pair up with each other. We've already worked on notation some, where we've got D4, D5, The only ones you could have question on, circle dash circles castle kingside, and knight B, D7. That's when two knights can go to the same spot. It's which knight. Okay? And when you guys have questions in a minute, you can ask me about it. But your goal today is going slowly first, getting a board out, and practicing these moves. You may want to write them down, because if you learn this for the test, you're probably good to go. But you don't know which color you're going to have on the test, so you better learn it from both sides. So the first step is learning it slowly. Then the next step is getting the chess clock, setting it to 5 minutes each, and here's where the competition comes in. You're going to compete against the rest of your classmates. I have about 30 people in here. And whoever has the fastest time by the end of the week will get some prizes and bonus points. If I see good effort, you get bonus points anyway. All right. Any questions on anything? E3 right there. Yeah. D4, D5, C4, E6, knight C3, knight E6. Uh-huh. You don't have to write it down. Just make sure, remember the difference between memorizing and learning. Learning, you don't forget. Why do you think I'm doing this activity this way? Say with kindergartners. A lot of our new kindergartners at school, they don't know their names. And it's kind of funny, but think about it this way. If at home, if his name's John out on the roll, and the teacher's calling him John, he's not called that. He's called Johnny at home. He doesn't go by anything other than Johnny. So when you're trying to do dismissal and you're like, John, come on, you're not talking to me. You're like, I'm Johnny. Does that make sense to everybody? That's why we got to put name tags on our kindergartners in the first week during dismissal to make sure that they can get from point A to B. Now, think about how kindergartners learn. They make games out of everything, and they do repetition. Like our alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. It gets to the point where you don't even have to think about it. It just rolls, The same thing is with chess. It's like learning a language or learning something. The more you do it to start with, the better off you'll be. All right, one more question? The one under E3 is knight F3, in F3. And remember, knight is N, king is K in notation. All right, so that's going to close out this beginning lesson. You're right. And also the problem behind us is, how many moves does it take the knight to take all these pawns? Comment. Get that comment.